It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 521. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
May the force be with you.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Mora.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Good evening.
I guess it will be May the 4th when this gets released.
It will.
Yo.
Really short topic. I saw Thunderbolts. It is maybe the beginning of a whole new era of Marvel movies. So
I don't think I've seen a single bad review for it.
it is. It might be the best Marvel film that I've seen in a really long time.
Wow.
I have heard people saying that they had lost faith in Marvel movies and this restored it.
Yeah, no, really.
Amazing.
It did. Yeah, like it's
Good.
probably the best one I've seen since Guardians 3, maybe.
Wow.
I'm particularly happy about this because even though this is not the version of the Thunderbolts team that I love the most, I love the concept of the Thunderbolts, and I like all of these characters and the actors who are portraying them in the MCU.
Yeah, this is a character-driven film.
I'm glad.
And it's got a lot of heart.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I'm really excited now.
Yeah, so as time allows, you should watch it. It's pretty great. So I have been hearing complete nonsense about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And could they give it a longer name?
Do you want Square naming it or something?
This game, man.
I've heard good things.
It looks amazing.
I've
I
heard
want to play
extremely
it.
good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to compare it to a handful of games because I feel like I can paint a picture with it.
I'm going to laugh if one of them is Paper Mario.
No, although I could see that. You're going to laugh because the very first one is Anachronox.
Well,
Once upon a time, some Western developers thought really hard about JRPGs and made one. And then didn't. And then nobody else did for like 20 years. And I really need to check who made Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But I'm pretty sure it's a Western dev.
It is. And it's
They're all
I think they're
French, yeah.
I
French.
think it's French, yeah.
They're former Ubisoft, I think.
Okay,
A lot of them are?
feel... Okay, then to say that this is the most French game I've ever played in my life and it's not even close feels okay.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely 30 some French developers.
It's...
I've heard you can
unbelievable.
wield a baguette.
Well,
But I don't know where to even start with it. It is a Belle Epoque France aesthetically vibed meditation on death and loss by way of Persona 5, but without the cowardice involving gay relationships, and also Mario Superstar Saga.
Well, and I've heard the basic sketch of the premise, and it's kind of got a Logan's Run vibe to it a little bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this game has the most powerful opening 20 minutes I think I've experienced in a long time. I think the last time the first 20 to 30 minutes of a piece of media hit me as hard as this one did was Up. And it's just a wild the basic premise, which is not spoilers because they're pretty upfront with it, is on this weird Belle Epoque France island, across the sea, they can see a giant mountain monolith thing. And every year, the paintress paints a number that is counting down from 100 on that monolith, and everybody over that age dies. And so you get to see the society that results. And every year, some people who have decided they have had enough, often many people who know they have 1 year or less left to live, decide to cross the sea and try to stop the Paintress. You are Expedition 33 going to try to stop the Paintress. It is absolutely wild. Like, the aesthetic is amazing. The music is really good. The combat is this like very tactical, buff and power up juggling JRPG combo style combat overlaid with dodge and parry mechanics when enemies attack you. It has just absolutely wild creature design and just area design. Like, it's unbelievably gorgeous wandering through it. Every new thing that happens makes me want to find out what the next thing that happens is going to be. It has some of the best technically executed dialogue I've seen in a video game. I think the only other game with dialogue as good, like technically executed dialogue as good, is like Cyberpunk, because it gets so many games have this like this very stilted back and forth dialogue where like somebody says a complete statement and then somebody else says a complete statement. And that's not really how conversations occur. And we've gotten a little bit better about this, but this is very good.
Yeah, because in reality, most conversations are people kind of talking at the same time.
Yeah, and like faltering incomplete thoughts and sentences because it's more emotive than detail oriented, and that's very much what's going on here. Like, I could not tell you what the hell is happening, but the vibes are impeccable. And like, I know what's going on, but the details elude me because the details don't really matter. Like, that's like, it's not taking time to pointlessly explain things to me the player that all of the characters already know, but I don't feel lost because it's not.
I knew this was gonna be a wild ride when Maxroll, an ARPG site, dedicated a section to build guides for this effectively JRPG.
It's not that kind of whatever.
There's apparently a lot of build options.
There's a lot of build options.
Sure. I feel like games with a lot of build options do not necessarily need build guides.
It also has a very, very nice selection of difficulty settings, which I appreciate. Because while I still like to remind some unseen child within me that I do in fact still have enough reflexes to play a parry game, I don't necessarily want to have to do that all the time. And it dramatically ramps down how good you have to be at parry and dodge at lower difficulty settings, which I appreciate a lot. Some of those timings are tight. And interestingly, you can debuff enemies fairly readily to make those timings wider, which is also interesting. Yeah, it's just like, it's an incredible experience. It is definitely wild to be on my third consecutive, very reasonable Game of the Year contender in like the last month.
Yeah, I saw a video from a YouTuber that said, I have multiple Game of the Year contenders and it's only April.
Yes. Yep, same.
Mm-hmm.
This was also on their list.
Yeah, I have multiple Game of the Year contenders, and it's the end. It's like the end of April, and I didn't really play all that much in January or February. It's been a wild like 6 weeks. But like, if you like JRPGs, the feeling of Persona games, if not the actual content, and like if you're like, oh, I think I would like Persona if the main characters were adults, then this is probably worth a look. And like, I have no idea how far into it I am or how much there is to go. Feels like a lot. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I heard somebody say it was like a 40-ish hour game.
That's probably sensible. I have no idea. I have only found 3 of the 4 like box art characters. So I guess take from that what you will. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a fun lark, and then I would go back to playing Last Epoch, and then it has been like, oh, this is wild. I want to know where this goes. I want to see I just want to see what the next zone looks like, because every zone has just been a visual ride. It's been a while since I've just like slow panned across my screen to look at the space I'm in.
What is Conquest Dark?
So Steam said, hey, you like Soulstone Survivors? You should try Conquest Dark, which just came out into early access a couple days ago. And I figured I would give it a try. It is very much like Soulstone Survivors. So, auto shooter, roguelite, but it's trying to be a little bit more like an ARPG. So it leans a little bit. I don't know. It's not really quite the same as Dwarven Realms, but it's survivor style combat, but you pick up loot, and so you have armor and weapons, skills, but it's a roguelite, so they're all randomized, and you're murdering swarms of undead, which is a thing I like to do. So, for something that just started early access this week, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I think if you look at Soulstone Survivors and go, ugh, like the style seems a little silly. I don't know. Um, this would appeal. It's definitely not as deep as Soulstone Survivors, especially now that that game has like a couple different game modes and is close to its actual release. But it's really quite surprisingly fun. And, as is the norm with this type of game, there's tons of things to unlock, different classes and races and weapons and artifacts, all kinds of things. So I've only put a few hours into it, and I'm still kind of messing around with what kinds of builds there are, but I appreciate that there's lots of choice, but it's a little bit less chaotic than Soulstone Survivors. And so it is very clear to look at combinations of skills and passives and weapons and actually put together a build, in a I don't know, in a way that makes more sense for my brain. It's a little less random. And the fact that you can kill things and loot will drop makes it feel a little more like an ARPG, which is also fun for my brain. Um, so yeah, I've been having a really surprising amount of fun with it. And if that is a style of game that you enjoy, I think this one is actually worth a look. And I'm really curious where it's gonna go as it traces the path through early access, because it's in a pretty decent place. Yeah, I think there's at least 4, 5 classes, maybe. It's just sort of standard archetypes, but um, yeah, just the combination of when you start out, you sort of choose your hero's background, and that influences what skills outside of your class you can choose. And I actually thought that I would hate the fact that every time you start a new run, you get to choose from a set of randomized characters. So you don't get to specify your class on any given run, and I thought that would really annoy me, but the runs are quick enough and all of the classes have been fun enough that it's been pretty okay.
So if I'm getting started on these games, like, should I definitely still start with Vampire Survivor?
I think it depends. I honestly might recommend Soulstone Survivors. It's Vampire Survivor has so much DLC and surprising amounts of complexity to it that I don't know. I actually lately find Soulstone Survivors just more fun and more chill. And
Vampire Survivors, even after all this time, is still kind of janky.
yes, thank you.
It's kind of janky, and it tries to hide its complexity from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Soulstone Survivors is what it looks like when you look at it, and uh, and you can have a dog and pet the dog.
Well, it
Always
feels very
important.
much like Vampire Survivors, but higher fidelity. Like it's got more mature systems feeling.
Yeah, and just less obscure complexity. Like there's still plenty of complexity there.
Yeah, but they tell you what it is almost all up front.
Yes. So yeah, I think if you were just getting into the genre, I would recommend taking a look at Soulstone Survivors.
And all of these games in this genre are perfect for something like the Steam Deck.
Oh yes, very much. These are the things that I just when even an ARPG is too much for my brain at the end of the day, I play one of these. But I do like having the randomized builds, and I don't actually in actual ARPGs I tend to pick a build and try to stick with it until I can't stand it anymore. And one of the things I like about this style of game is that every run is different and every build can be wildly different. And even when you're going for the same sort of build, the randomness means it's never going to be exactly the same, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, but I find very few of my builds in Soulstone Survivors are not improved by the big bloody saw.
So we are no closer to having the next league for Path of Exile, and there are a lot of people that have decided for one reason or another that they don't like Path of Exile 2. And as a result, Grinding Gear Games is running another event to placate people and make them forget that it's been 10 months since the last league.
That is a long time.
So essentially, this event is they are basically making private leagues free, and you can choose one of a bunch of templates. So if you wanted to do the free event plus some other stuff, you can do that. You can not do that. And essentially, like a bunch of different streamers are running private leagues. Pohx decided kind of at the last minute that he was going to run a league. Captain Lance tagged in, and as a result, they have like a league with like 30,000 players in it. I did not plan on playing in this until I watched some gameplay, and the rule set that they chose is kind of nonsense. So it is Settlers default classes, no Freesia classes, and it has the Shifting Stones rule set, which I'd
That was
ran
a
under
funny
before.
event when they ran it.
I ran under it before. So basically, every map that you do has either Endless Delirium, the ghosts that haunt you and power you up, or Endless Legion, which I don't really like. The one where you break things out slowly until you fill a bar and then they pop. Or the weird blight where the towers do 300% more damage, but you do less damage. Like, that's shifting stones. And every 15 minutes, every zone of the game changes which version it has.
Oh, interesting.
However, that's not the one I care about. There's a rule set that I've never played under, and it is completely nonsense. It's called Atlas Invasion. Every zone, once you leave the beach, is invaded by 2 Atlas bosses. This could be a boss from a map. This could be the Shaper.
Okay.
They are scaled down for the level, but they still do all the same abilities. So it was a wake-up call when I was fighting the Dweller, and I heard a die, and the beam shoot across the zone at me.
Oh, okay.
Whoops. Surprise serious.
And like the T-17 bosses are in the rotation. It is totally random what bosses you get. But to make up for the frustration, every single boss drops anywhere from 1 to 3 uniques each. So, from like the first zone, you were just swimming in uniques.
Okay.
By the time I finished Act 1, Kodra, I had at least a dozen dead arcs drop. By Act 2, I had a Cloak of Flames. I think it was Act 7, I found a Mjolnir. Like, most of the uniques that are dropping are really crappy uniques.
This game does not have a lot of really good uniques. It's got a few.
But they're also not bad for leveling purposes. Like, there's a lot of...
A number of them are nice for that, yeah.
There's a lot of uniques that if you get them during the leveling process, it makes the leveling process more interesting, and that's kind of the... Like, it's been very slow going because since I know there's 2 loot bag bosses in every single zone, I roam around every single zone until I find the 2 loot bag bosses. Do you know what else is really good, far better than it's ever been? Val corruption areas, because they're small and they count as a unique map that is different than the map you've been running. So they all have 2 extra bosses in them.
I feel like the first time I get the boss of that unique map that is cool or whatever, I'm just going to quit.
Which one?
The unique boss with all the totems, Kuwala, whatever, like, it's got the weird name, that has the boss that runs away from you.
Oh, I've not encountered that one yet. I've gotten, like, by the time I cleared Act 1, I had fought Elder and Shaper and Olroth, or whatever I don't think it's actually Olroth. Olroth is a BOE too. But whatever the expedition boss is, that's a pinnacle, I fought a bunch of Shaper and Elder and, serious Guardians. They don't drop their loot table, but once you get into the maps, they actually start dropping influenced items at least. It's kind of silly. Like, I doubt I stick around for terribly long, but it was an entertaining leveling process. But the weird thing is it's almost last epochified Path of Exile, because, like, I'm leaving so many uniques on the ground just because, okay, I've already got multiple copies of this. I don't need any more. But I've also, like, kind of gotten everything that I need unique-wise so far. Like, I've not gotten a Phoenix Shield, but I got, like I said, a Cloak of Flames. I got an Immortal Flesh.
I mean, isn't the Phoenix Shield a Searing XR drop?
No, that's the whatever the red shield is that has.
You understand my confusion, though.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the Phoenix Shield that's got, I think, +5 fire res on it is just a world drop. Pretty sure it is. Anyway, like, it's been entertaining. I doubt I will stick with it for terribly long, but having all these extra bosses is certainly fun.
Yeah.
It has actually allowed me to learn some of the mechanics that I never really knew.
Yeah, because you don't have to spend a ton of resources to fight a boss once.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm so much better at fighting Shaper now after having fought Shaper numerous times. I had never fought the Expedition Pinnacle, but like if I ever get to it, I know how to fight it now. The breach
I
bosses can be really brutal at times.
I went so all in on Expedition one time, trying to even see those guys, and never did.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of logbooks, but I've never encountered the pinnacle boss. Like they only spawn in those underground areas, and you usually only have one or two of those a map or like a logbook.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to like very carefully arrange your bombs to even get to all of them. I don't know. It's fun though. Like it's a heck of a fun time for leveling at least. South of Midnight.
This is another game that I've only really just started, but has just an impeccable vibe to it. I don't yet super know what's going on, but it's got this cool, like, I don't necessarily want to call it stop motion-esque animation style, but it kind of is. And it's a more like adventure-y game with like a deep south mythology bent to it. It's really cool. I wound up in it because N.K. Jemisin talked about how good she thought the writing was.
Well,
and so I was like, I'll pay attention to that.
I watched the little vignette that they were talking about the story and the writing when it was initially being released, and it had this vibe of like, what if Songs of the South was not aggressively racist?
Yeah, I could see that. Like, there's so much like bad stereotyping in almost any media that's like focused on the American South, to the point that like I kind of shy away from it reflexively. But like this is like, oh, what if we did a good treatment? And I'm like, oh, and like there's been a bunch of stuff that I've had to look up because it's just like, oh, this is just like slang or terminology that like I don't know. So I'm just like learning a bunch about mythology that I would never have picked up before. But yeah, it's what little I've played of it is very cool. I'm looking forward to playing more.
Yeah, I've heard it's on a lot of games of the year lists so far.
It's definitely, I don't know, like I have not played enough to know if it gets there for me, but like it definitely has the potential, which would be 4 consecutive. But like mostly I'm playing it because I went on a kick a little while back where I was like explicitly trying to play and read, different things that were like just perspectives that I'd never experienced as like the primary voice in a game or a book or whatever. And like there were so many cool things that I read that I just would never have picked up if I hadn't gone out of my way to do that. And this is definitely one of those.
Because I might have missed it, what is the gameplay of it like?
It's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to say generic action-y, but, third person.
It looks kind of like the Sucker Punch formula pre-Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. Like, I don't know that it's reinventing anything as far as the gameplay, but that's not really what I'm here for or why I care about it. In fact, it's sort of a benefit because it's like, this is a game that is like many other games that I've played, but is being told from a different perspective, and like that's really cool. And like the main character is funny and interesting and has these interactions with the people she knows that I'm like, I don't necessarily know this I don't necessarily know this one, but I know of it through like my own lens. It's like, I don't know what that statement is, but I know that if I were hearing this in Spanish, we'd be talking about the chancla. Like,
sure.
It's like, I know where we're at here. Like, do I know what that person just told me? No. But
yeah, this game sounds really interesting. It's definitely been a thing I've been thinking about taking a look at. There are so many games right now.
Oh my god, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's honestly it's overwhelming.
And I fortunately or unfortunately added a new one recently.
Yep. How about you tell us about those?
So yeah, Samurai Bringer is a game that came out several years ago, published by Playism, a Japanese company, and it has the most unique art style I think I've ever seen in games. I had a friend who was obsessed with it, but I never took a close look, so I'm just getting around to doing that now.
Absolutely wild art style.
The art style is low poly 3D model with a ray traced filter so that everything is pixel art. Like, no weird things with pixel boundaries. They make sure that everything lines up exactly.
It's so weird to see.
It is truly odd, and the game that results is interesting, although I have to say that I think these concepts work better in a game with a different styling. So this year, they made Metalbringer, a game where picking parts off of your enemy makes way more sense. The story of Samurai Bringer is relating to the legend of Susanoo and Orochi and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
A story you may be familiar with if you've played Dragon Quest III or Okami, or several other things.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's one of the big ones.
Metalbringer, instead, is not, at least if it's related to Japanese mythology, it's not in a way that I know. You are the last human who is not in cryosleep in a lab woken up after roughly 1,000 years. And you're trying to figure out what happened to the big machine overlord that threw everyone else into cryosleep, what you are, actually doing. And you can take these robot bodies, which the game refers to as labor, out. But these robot bodies can also hop in giant mech vehicles known as arms. And the combination of these things is how you, arms have a left arm, a right arm, a head, and a legs piece that are modular. When you blow up an enemy, they might leave behind one or more of these parts. So you can equip them to, boost your own stats, keep yourself going, things like that. If you take parts you get, you can analyze at a lab so you can build them back at base. And you also get data disks, which can be analyzed and built back at base. So there's quite a bit of meta progression here. In what is otherwise a roguelike, I have yet to get that far, tend to die to the second boss, if not earlier. But hey, it's progression. I am really enjoying this. It has an art style I would call extremely unique, if not for Samurai Bringer existing.
It's such an art style. It's so neat and so. How did you get here?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think they wanted to make a pixel art game, but they also wanted to make a 3D game, and they split the difference.
Yeah, I believe that.
But I am finding this very fun. Also, I have yet to figure out why anyone would not just use the quad legs. Okay, I guess I have discovered one alternate option. The legs with wheels on them are very, very fast in one direction. I don't think that's enough of a trade-off for the ability to quad legs to just dodge anywhere, but, whatever. There is more of a story in this game than I think I anticipated, but I've yet to uncover large parts of it.
Kodra, I'm almost afraid to ask what the topic of chess drama is.
So,
Oh boy.
there was a chess tournament for gamers.
The chess boxing thing?
It's like PogChamp, I guess is
What?
what it is. Yes. Anyways, it is a chess tournament for people who are not like your traditional chess players. And there's one player who definitely got caught cheating. You can't say definitely got caught cheating because they don't have the evidence. But you've got somebody who is just basically playing every top engine move 26 moves in a row and constantly looking off to the side to see a different they said their story changed a bunch. At first it was I wasn't looking at chat was minimized, and then it was I was looking at chat and they were feeding me moves, but almost certainly this person was just using an engine to play. Which caused a big kerfuffle and everyone got very upset, but it's definitely been interesting for me to follow on because it's I think the idea of fair play and cheating in video games is probably less intense than it is in chess, partially because it's just really computers are better than humans now, and so it's really easy to be better than any other human using their brain to try and play this game.
Yeah, we long passed the point when a computer can beat a human.
Yeah, Deep Blue was decades ago.
Which is like, it is, and even Deep Blue, like there was definitely like, there was a moment where people were like, oh, maybe people can beat Deep Blue, but like the current iteration, no, like nobody even.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like the first couple times Deep Blue lost, but before that project ended, Deep Blue was winning all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, chess is a solved problem. It has been for some time.
It is technically not solved in the sense that it is mapped, but it is solved in the sense that humans cannot be computers at it.
Yeah.
It's just like your mind cannot contain the trillions of paths that a computer's mind can. But yeah, like I've been playing, I mean, I've still been playing a lot of chess lately, and so this crossed my feed as like something to like keep an eye on, and yeah, it is like the world of chess seems extremely popular right now, thanks in large part to the pandemic, but like it's getting more prestige again, and we're entering an era of both prestige chess, and it's easier and easier to like get that prestige using illicit means. That said, very few people are actually good at cheating, and it becomes very obvious that people are.
Yeah.
Like
that sounds right.
The moves computers make are not the moves humans necessarily make. Like this is why last year there was a big cheating scandal in chess when Magnus Carlsen just like resigned in the middle of the game when like an in-person player he felt was like violating fair play because he was following like certain extremely esoteric like patterns that Magnus, the world champ, is familiar with from playing against chess bots.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than keep playing, he's just like, no, I'm not going to play against you. This is not a fair game.
Was this the event that Ludwig had organized?
Maybe.
Because I saw some stuff this week pass my screen, but I didn't dig into it.
Apparently, Ludwig was supposed to be in the lineup.
Okay. Because like I know his thing is he organizes the chess boxing events where you play a round of chess, then you box around, and then you play a round of chess, and then you box around.
So yes, it sounds like Ludwig dropped out from this event at some point, as I'm reading about it online. But Ludwig would have been the strongest player of this group. So it probably makes sense that he bow out to try and keep the skill level roughly comparable. Ludwig is actually very good at chess, although chess players will not acknowledge this. Listen, there's just like in a game like Celeste, there is gradients of skill at chess that people higher on the skill curve do not recognize. If somebody has a 1700 ELO, they are very good at chess.
A Return to Infinity in S.
And 5.
In 5. Okay.
Yes. 5th edition Infinity is out. And I have been delving back into it a bit.
How is the anime special?
Stupidly good.
Is it? That's good.
So Infinity has had a thing going on for a while where every edition Infinity has a reasonably good gameplay model, and its main problems have been factions not having all of the tools they need to play every part of the game, which leads to some outlier problems. The occasional like terrible gotcha rules interaction that is just like out of band difficult to fight against, and rules bloat. And over the last couple of editions, they've been tackling all three of those. I've spent the last like week and a half going through, all of, because at one point in 2014 or so, I decided that I was going to play a tournament with every faction in the game, which was a like 5-year process. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but
yeah, sounds like a bit of a nightmare.
But I did it. And then by the end of it was so burned out on Infinity that I didn't really touch it for the next like 5 years. But so I'm coming back and looking at it now because somebody asked if I would join the local group, the local Discord, and I said something, and I made a comment in the local Discord. This is people that I used to play a lot of those tournaments with, and I guess not to toot my own horn, but for context, I was playing at a very highly competitive level at the time and had an invite to the World Tournament, which I didn't go to because I couldn't afford to travel, but like I had won enough tournaments here in the States that the international tournament was like I had an invitation to the national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people locally, the local groups are about 25% still people that I used to play with and about 75% new people. And so I think I made some comment about, I whipped up my old tournament winning list from when I last played. And it's everything that I liked in it has had points cuts.
Oh no.
And I was just looking at that like, oh, that's interesting. I can fit like 25% more things in this list. Or I can make things a lot better than I was before. And as has happened on and off for the last 15 years, somebody has been like, I don't know that a 10 order list is very good. Really doesn't seem like you have enough models, and I don't know, it seems like a kind of newbie list. Which I did not say anything to, but one of the other local people just laughed, and like 3 more other people laughed. The guy was like, well, what's so funny? Long story short, I offered to, I was like, let's just play a game. Like, I don't know what Infinity is like now. I'll bring this list and you bring whatever. I'm still okay at Infinity. But it's interesting to me to see a lot of the things that a lot of the ways in which I thought about playing the game are more borne out by the way the rules have shifted, and that's a really interesting space to be in, because the kinds of lists that I used to make, which weren't very common because it wasn't like they weren't intuitive, are now much more intuitive based on the tools and the points costs of things. They've taken link teams. It used to be that you wanted to have a full link of people because that full link was super powerful and you couldn't, you really just couldn't mathematically find something very, and now they nerfed the absolute hell out of them. They are good and they're efficient, but certainly not required. And that's true kind of across the board. A lot of stuff that used to be bad is very reasonable now, and a lot of stuff that used to be just like out of band good has been brought much more in line. A bunch of things that I always thought were too cheap are more expensive. A lot of things that I thought were more expensive are much less so. There's a lot of really creative thought that is in what you can get that isn't adding complexity, and like it needs that because Infinity is probably the game I play with the steepest learning curve. It has an I will make no excuses. It has an absolutely horrendous steep learning curve. I think it's very fun once you get into it, but getting into it is hard.
Is it still one of those things where, because what I remember was the big thing was which models you had that could like do objective work was really where you were focusing your efforts on.
That is a lot. That is still a heavy focus, but the saturation of units that can do objectives is much higher.
Okay.
Like 3 to 4 times as many options in a given faction's list as there were before. it used to be that you would have to like go out of your way to make sure you brought them, and if you didn't, you were just SOL. And now there's a lot of places where it's just like, oh, it's really easy to just have this in your list. You're not like going out of your way to do it. It's just like, oh yeah, I already wanted to do this.
Yeah, because I remember you talking about this, and the thing I remember you were running into was a lot of people who would spend all of their special weapons points. Is that SWP?
Yes. SWC.
SWC on like bigger weapons, and your differentiating factor was you would spend it on models that could then do objective play.
Yes. Yeah, like I have never thought very much about how do I kill people in this game. I focus on how do I win the game. And that has very strongly been a differentiating factor. And now that's much less of a like choice you have to make, which I think is good. It makes list building a lot more intuitive.
Yeah.
And the other thing that the other really big change that they made, just as far as just of like how I think about units, that's completely blown up how I list build, and I have to rethink a lot of things. For a long time, they've had units with this ability called Combat Jump, which is basically like deep strike into the map somewhere. And it had really restrictive rules. You had to be able to place a like circular template, which is fairly large, onto the ground floor of the map such that it could lay flat and not touch any terrain, which meant that there were not very, Infinity has a fairly dense board. There usually weren't that many places where you could put that, and they were all out in the open. And so most of the time, if you were combat dropping a unit, it would appear somewhere everyone could see them and immediately get shot to death. So I was like, why would you ever bother? They're slow, they're not very good, and they're risky. So those rules have changed immensely. They're not slow anymore. They all have super jump to reflect the fact that they have jetpacks. They're highly mobile, and also you don't have to place a circular template anymore. You place them on the board wherever they fit.
Oh, that seems nice.
That is a big change. Like that goes from, I think that goes from these are completely unplayable to, oh, this is very good. You can pick a safe place and have them drop in, and then have a very mobile piece moving around doing stuff. So that's pretty exciting. And then on top of that, it's just cool that I think that there are only like 2 factions that I would say are like, I don't know why you'd play this out of 30, 40, which is really, it's a lot better than it used to be. Some of my favorites have seen some incredible glow ups. Sorry, Corregidor, you're still not in a great place.
Oh,
but the rest of Nomads are amazing, and I think they have put the other big thing that I don't know if it happened last edition or if it's specifically this edition. I'd have to check, but there's a maximum number of units you can include, and it's 15, and I feel like that's good. The game got into a really like ugly place where people were just like, how do I cram the most possible models into my list? And that's just not interesting. What are the largest number of boring models I can take? And so the 15 order limit significantly reduces that. I did get to learn firsthand about the bear pod. That guy will do a harm.
Makes sense.
It's the climbing plus, really. It can climb very well.
I think all of the wolf ones have like super jump instead, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a whole lot of they've leaned really heavily into a lot of the things that they were doing a little bit before. And so like there's a lot more like bear and wolf people, and there's a lot more like just out and out. One of the big nomad things was they had like a ton of biohacking stuff. And so there's a whole bunch of like there's a whole bunch more animal shape people, even just among the regular units in the scopes than there were before, which is super cool to see. It's not just like, oh, this one unit. It's like, no. There's a bunch of them. there's just so like almost any faction you want to play is cool. It definitely has a very Warhammer 40K 10th edition feel where they really, really, really made a point of saying almost they do not want you to lose the game in list building. They want almost any list you put together that follows like the rules of list building to be good. And I think that that's very strong for a game like Infinity, where you could find a model that's just like, I love this model, I want to run it, and the game is a lot more friendly to that. It's been pretty cool. I've been the other reason I've been excited about it is because I finally sat down and painted an Infinity mini for the first time in 10 years. And I actually like the result. Like painting Infinity was always super demoralizing for me because they're tiny, detailed models, and I was just not a good enough painter to paint them well. And it turns out now I am. And that's really, really satisfying to actually be able to paint something that I think looks cool and not feel like I screwed up a cool looking mini with my paint job. It's not a game without its flaws. It continues to be a game that is I have to continually remind myself that it was not made in the US because some things, if you make a faction that is conceptually like the UN peacekeeping force, if I were making that here in the US, I would probably not give it a like classical cops aesthetic, which they absolutely did. But like, I also sort of get like one of their units are the blue coats. I probably wouldn't have done that, but also like this is the place where they do a ton of research to like try to be culturally sensitive. They actually renamed about 30 or 40 units because, and they even had a thing. They're like, yeah, they're renaming a bunch of these units because neither our Japanese nor our Arabic were very good when we first made these units. And so in an effort to be more respectful, we're going to update the names because honestly, we weren't very good at it then. And like, that's pretty cool. I also appreciate their commitment to I also appreciate their commitment to just truly incredible sculpts. They're continuing to do an almost perfect 50-50 split across actually, it's not even a 50-50 split anymore. It is across the gender spectrum representation. They have all kinds of different people, and I think it's so cool how committed they are to a variety of different people, and coming from a place where that wasn't always true. They took a lot of very well-deserved heat for having incredibly cheesecakey sculpts early on, and like that is absolutely no longer the case. Their models are awesome, and like even when they do, even on the occasion where they do a model that is like supposed to be seductive, it's thoughtful, it's cool. I really like how they've evolved with that. I also appreciate that they have decided that no, women can be knights too, and anybody who wants to get mad about it can F off. I frankly agree.
Hey, that's awesome.
It's super cool. And I've just put together, they're not without a sense of humor. I just put together a mini named Mary Problems, who is a nomad hacker who is like, that is her job, is she creates problems for people. She's a kid for that. It's terrible. But yeah, it's fun to come back to something that I haven't played in a while and see that it's like it's really evolved in some cool ways, and I'm excited about the different sculpts and painting and playing.
Well, that was probably a show. Anybody have any other short topics real quick?
Sounds like we're topicked out.
Blueprints continues to be amazing, and I continue to delve deeper.
I assume there is a bottom to this hole at some point, but I have still not reached it.
Me either, although I have taken a break. Hit a wall and took a break.
Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.